Let this story be a tool for transformation in your life. As you read, allow the Holy Spirit to speak to your heart, revealing areas that need adjustment, inspiring new ways to live out your faith, and encouraging you to embrace each moment as an opportunity to glorify God. This is not just another video. It is a call to live more fully, more intentionally, and more aligned with God's will. Listen to these words with an open heart, and prepare yourself for a journey that could change the way you see time and life. Now, my brother, my sister, I invite you to dive into this reflection. May these words be like seeds planted in fertile soil, ready to bear abundant fruit in your life. May this journey lead you to a place of greater intimacy with God, where every second counts for eternity. Time is in your hand. What will you do with it? The choice is yours. May your life become a masterpiece worthy of eternity. Amen. You ever found yourself looking at the clock at 11:59 p.m., wondering where on earth your day went? My friend, you're not alone. We live in an age where time seems to slip through our fingers like fine sand. One moment, we're having breakfast, and the next, time for bed, while that to-do list, well, it's still there, practically untouched, staring back at us with a look of reproach. But let's take a step back for a moment. Imagine waking up on an ordinary morning. The sun has barely broken the horizon, and you're already holding your phone, endlessly scrolling through notifications, emails, and social media updates. Before you've even set foot on the ground, you already feel overwhelmed by the day's demands. And so begins the race against time. Throughout the day, you find yourself juggling online meetings, instant messages, phone calls, and that never-ending pile of tasks that seems to multiply magically. Hop from one activity to the next, always with the feeling that you're playing catch-up. Lunch? Oh, that was the sandwich you hurriedly ate in front of your computer. A coffee break? No way. Time is too short for luxuries like that. And then, in the blink of an eye, the day is over. You ask yourself, what did I really do today? Feeling of being busy all day is there? But the sense of accomplishment? Well, that seems to have gotten lost somewhere along the way. This scenario is so common that it almost feels normal. Let's be honest, is this how it's supposed to be? Were we born to live in this constant rush, always feeling like we're falling behind? The most intriguing part is that we have more tools than ever to manage our time. Productivity apps, synchronized calendars, virtual assistants. The list is endless. Paradoxically, the more we try to control time, the more it seems to slip away from us. It's as if we're stuck on a treadmill, running faster and faster, getting nowhere. Busy, exhausted, yet with the unsettling feeling that we're not really making any progress. What if I told you there's a way to tame this silent thief? That we can indeed be the maestros of the symphony of our hours, that it's possible to have productive days and still find time to breathe, think, simply be. The truth is that time, this precious and finite resource, is distributed equally to all of us. Celebrities, CEOs, top athletes, they all have the same 24 hours a day as you and me. The difference lies in how we choose to use those hours. Perhaps the secret doesn't lie in trying to squeeze more activities into every minute, but in reevaluating how we value our time. Maybe it's time to question our priorities. Ask ourselves if we are investing our time in things that truly matter. In this journey we are about to embark on together, we will explore not just time management techniques, but a fundamental shift in how we view this precious resource. We will discover how we can live fuller, more meaningful, and perhaps even longer days, not in hours, but in experiences and achievements. So my dear reader, are you ready to take back control of your time? To transform yourself from a victim of the clock into a master of your hours? The answer is yes. Stay with me. Perhaps by the end of this journey, we can together unravel the mystery of the time that escapes us, and learn to live each moment with purpose and satisfaction. When we think of C.S. Lewis, many of us immediately imagine Narnia, with its talking lions and magical wardrobes. But Lewis was much more than a storyteller of fantastical tales. He was an astute observer of the human condition, and his reflections on time and how we use it are as relevant today as they were when he wrote them more than half a century ago. In the Screw-Taped Letters, Lewis introduces us to an inverted world where demons discuss the best ways to tempt humans. The main character, Screwtape, an experienced demon, writes letters to his nephew Wormwood, instructing him in the arts of temptation. And do you know what one of the main strategies Screwtape recommends? Distraction. Lewis writes, through Screwtape's voice, "Humans live in time, but our enemy destines them to eternity. He, therefore, wants them to focus mainly on two things: eternity and the present moment." This observation is deeply revealing. Lewis is telling us that there is a constant battle for our attention, and that the enemy, in Screwtape's inverted view as God, wants us to focus on what truly matters: the eternal and the now. But why is this so crucial? Lewis argues that it is in the present moment that we make decisions, love, and grow. It is in the now that our faith becomes action, that our values turn into concrete choices. Eternity, on the other hand, gives us perspective, reminding us that our actions have consequences that go beyond the immediate. Screwtape continues advising Wormwood, "Make them worry about the future, for thinking about the future awakens covetousness and anxiety. And besides, at this point, it is the least like eternity." Here, Lewis exposes a common trap that many of us fall into. We become so concerned with what might happen tomorrow that we forget to live today. This obsession with the future, Lewis argues, pulls us away from both the present and eternity. We become stuck in a limbo of anxiety and speculation, losing sight of what we can truly influence, our actions and choices here and now. But Lewis doesn't stop there. In another of his works, The Abolition of Man, he discusses the importance of universal values and how they shape our actions. When we apply this thinking to the use of time, we realize that our daily choices of how to spend our minutes and hours are in fact deep statements about what we value. Lewis challenges us to think, are we using our time in a way that reflects our deepest values? Or are we allowing distractions and worldly concerns to consume precious moments that we could be investing in things of eternal significance? In Mere Christianity, Lewis writes, "If you read history, you will find that the Christians who did most for the present world were precisely those who thought most of the next." This perspective reminds us that, paradoxically, it is when we keep our eyes fixed on eternity that we can make the greatest impact here and now. Lewis's silent cry through his works is a call for us to wake up from the torpor of routine and distractions. It is an invitation to live with purpose, aware that every moment is a precious opportunity. He challenges us to use our time not just efficiently, meaningfully, aligned with our deepest values and with an eternal perspective. So the next time you look at the clock, remember, every tick-tock is not just the passing of time, but an invitation to live fully, to love deeply, and to create something that echoes into eternity. Let's delve into the paradox of modern time, that, in many ways, encapsulates the reality of living in a hyper-connected world. The current landscape offers us an immense array of technological tools that promise to make our lives easier, optimizing everything from the most trivial tasks to the most complex ones. We have apps to manage our time, alarms to remind us of tasks, virtual assistants that help us keep everything under control. In theory, we should be more efficient than ever. However, the reality is that despite having an abundance of resources at our disposal, we often feel more overwhelmed and less productive. This paradox manifests itself in several ways. First, there is an illusion of control. When we are overwhelmed with tasks, we turn to technology to help us manage them, believing that by structuring our time, we are solving the problem of lack of productivity. However, this same technology, which should liberate us, often traps us in endless cycles of micromanagement and distraction. We spend more time setting up our systems and apps than actually executing the tasks they are supposed to help us accomplish. It's as if we're on a productivity treadmill where the more we try to move forward, the more we stay in the same place. Moreover, there's the issue of distraction. C.S. Lewis, in describing the devil's strategy of keeping us busy with trivialities, seems to have perfectly predicted our modern era. We are constantly bombarded by notifications, emails, messages, and feel the need to respond to everything instantly. This artificial urgency creates a false sense of productivity. We respond to a message here, resolve an email there, and at the end of the day we feel like we've done a lot, but in reality, we haven't moved toward our most important goals. This constant state of readiness to respond to the urgent prevents us from focusing on what truly matters. One of the most pernicious aspects of this paradox is the way it undermines our ability to concentrate and engage in deep reflection. We live in a continuous state of superficiality, where we jump from one task to another without really delving into any of them. We are always busy, but rarely do we manage to enter a state of flow, where true creativity and productivity emerge. This leaves us with the feeling of being busy but empty. The culture of busyness has become a sort of status, where being constantly occupied is seen as a sign of success, even if that success isn't leading us anywhere meaningful. Another point to consider is how this paradox of modern time affects our personal and spiritual lives. When we're always rushing, we lose the ability to stop and reflect, to seek meaning in our actions and in our existence. Lewis reminds us that the devil loves to keep us busy with trivialities, precisely because it prevents us from dedicating time to what truly matters: our relationships, our faith, our spiritual growth. Constant busyness pulls us away from the present, and consequently, from eternity, which, as Lewis wisely pointed out, is where God wants us to focus our attention. Therefore, when we analyze the paradox of modern time, we realize that it is not just a problem of task management or a question of productivity. It is an existential challenge that touches the essence of how we choose to live our lives. We need to recognize that despite all the tools at our disposal, true mastery of time does not lie in controlling every second, but in prioritizing what truly matters. And this, as Lewis warns us, requires a change in perspective, a willingness to resist the temptation of being constantly busy and instead seek depth in our actions and daily choices. C.S. Lewis, in his work full of wisdom and depth, reminds us of the urgency of living in the present. Quote, "The future is something which everyone reaches at the rate of 60 minutes an hour. Whatever he does, whoever he is, confronts us with the inescapable reality that time advances inexorably, regardless of our actions or inactions. It's as if we're on a conveyor belt, moving toward the future at a constant speed, with no possibility of slowing down or speeding up the pace. The only choice we have is what we do with the minutes we have in our hands." This perspective brings to light a crucial question. Are we truly present in each of these minutes, or are we merely allowing them to pass by, wasting the precious time we've been given? Often, we allow ourselves to be carried away by worries about what is to come, imagining future scenarios that may never materialize. Other times, we get stuck in the past, reliving mistakes or longings that should have been left behind. In this process, the present, the only moment we really have to act, ends up being neglected. Lewis is not alone in his reflection on time. The Bible, in Ephesians 5:15-16, exhorts us, "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, as the days are evil." This passage highlights the importance of living intentionally, being aware of the choices we make and the impact they have on our lives. Making the most of every opportunity means being fully engaged in the present, recognizing that each moment carries the potential for transformation. The urgency of now is a concept that, although seemingly simple, is often forgotten in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. The demands of modern life, with its constant notifications, tight deadlines, and pressure to always be productive, can pull us away from what truly matters. This constant distraction prevents us from noticing the passage of time, and before we know it, days, weeks, or even years have passed without us having fully lived. To live the present more fully, conscious effort is required. It's necessary to learn to turn off distractions and focus on what is right in front of us. This might mean dedicating quality time to the people we love, being present in the small tasks of the day, or simply stopping to appreciate the moment without rushing to the next activity. The practice of mindfulness is a valuable tool in this process. By training our minds to focus on the present, we learn to live each moment with more intensity and purpose. Moreover, recognizing the finitude of time can help us reevaluate our priorities. When we realize that time is limited, and that we cannot regain it once it is lost, we begin to value our daily choices more. We start asking ourselves, is what I'm doing now really important? Is it aligned with my values and my life goals? This reflection allows us to live more authentically, aligning our actions with what truly matters. Another dimension of the urgency of now is the responsibility of being good stewards of the time we have been given. Like any valuable resource, time must be managed wisely. This includes planning, but also being flexible to adapt to changes and unforeseen circumstances that life presents to us. Viewing time as a gift encourages us to use it in a way that brings meaning and purpose, both for ourselves and for others. Ultimately, living with the urgency of now is recognizing that every minute counts, that every choice shapes the course of our lives. It is a call to be present, to live intentionally, and to make the time we have a true work of art that reflects our values and our deepest essence. Lewis challenges us to think about what really matters. In The Abolition of Man, he talks about universal values and the importance of living according to them. But what does it mean in practice to align our daily activities with our deepest values? For many, this may begin with an honest reassessment of what we are doing with our time. The modern rush makes us believe that being busy is synonymous with being productive. But are we really advancing toward our most meaningful goals? Or are we just moving without direction, guided by external demands and the incessant noise of distraction? Think about a typical day. How often do you start an important task, only to be interrupted by a notification on your phone? How often do you intend to spend more time with your family or friends, but end up spending hours scrolling through social media feeds? These small decisions, seemingly harmless, add up and over time divert us from the path we truly want to follow. This disconnection between what we say we value and how we actually live can create a sense of emptiness, a silent dissatisfaction that corrodes our inner peace. Problem is that the most urgent demands are not always the most important. Phone ringing, email that just arrived, the latest trend on social media, all these things clamor for our immediate attention. But do they deserve to be prioritized? Lewis invites us to reflect on what really matters and to ask ourselves, if someone observed how I spend my days, what conclusions would they draw about what I value? Do my actions reflect my deepest values, or am I simply reacting to what is most urgent, ignoring what is truly important? Take, for example, the practice of setting aside time for introspection and spiritual cultivation. In a world that values productivity at all costs, dedicating time to personal and spiritual growth may seem like a luxury, something to be done only when all other tasks are completed. However, Lewis suggests that these activities are essential for aligning our lives with our values. Meditation, prayer, reading inspiring texts, all these practices help anchor us in something greater than ourselves, remind us of what really matters, and guide our actions accordingly. Another important aspect is how we invest our time in relationships. In our fast-paced culture, we often feel tempted to treat our relationships as just another task to be checked off the list, rather than seeing them as an essential part of a well-lived life. Lewis encourages us to look beyond immediate needs and invest quality time in our relationships, whether with family, friends, or the community. These connections not only bring us joy and support, but they also help us grow and live more authentically. Moreover, redefining priorities requires us to be willing to say no to things that are not in alignment with our values. This can be incredibly difficult, especially when those things are socially valued or seem like good opportunities. However, Lewis reminds us that our choices, and not just our talents, shape who we are. Learning to say no assertively and clearly allows us to create space for what truly matters, for what resonates with our deepest values. Ultimately, living according to our values is a continuous process of self-evaluation and adjustment. It takes courage to question established norms, to challenge social expectations, and to make decisions that may not be popular, but are in tune with who we really are and what we want to achieve. By doing so, we not only find deeper meaning in our lives, but we also become role models for others, inspiring them to do the same. Power of the present moment is an idea that, although often discussed, is rarely fully understood or applied. The reality is that the present is the only time we truly possess. Past, no matter how much we revisit it in our memory, is gone. Future, no matter how much we plan for it or long for it, has not yet arrived. What remains is the now, present moment that unfolds before us, and it is in this instant that we have the power to act, to decide, to change. C.S. Lewis challenges us to consider the present as the point at which time touches eternity. This is a profound and meaningful vision. The present is the only moment when we can do something concrete. It is where life truly happens. All our actions, choices, and thoughts occur in the present. Even our reflections on the past or our worries about the future happen in the now. Therefore, understanding and valuing the present is essential for living a full and meaningful life. Often, we are seduced by the idea that the future will bring us the happiness, fulfillment, or peace we desire. We place our dreams and hopes in a tomorrow that always seems just out of reach. By doing so, we neglect the value and power of the present moment. We chase a horizon that seems to recede every time we try to approach it. But the truth is that the future we desire can only be built with the actions we take now. Every choice, no matter how small, is a brick in the construction of our tomorrow. Moreover, present is where we find true connection with our essence and with the world around us. When we are fully present, we can appreciate the beauty of small moments, feel gratitude for simple things, and experience life in all its depth. Being present is a way of living with intention, being aware of our actions and how they shape our lives and the lives of those around us. Practice of being present requires discipline and attention. We live in a world that constantly bombards us with distractions. Our electronic devices, work demands, social pressures, and personal concerns often pull us away from the now. We frequently find ourselves operating on autopilot, moving from one task to another without really realizing what we are doing. The consequence is that we lose touch with the present, and therefore, with life. One way to cultivate presence is through the practice of mindfulness. This practice teaches us to focus our attention on the present moment, to observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment, and to be aware of the here and now. It is not about ignoring the past or the future, but about recognizing that the only moment in which we can truly live and act is the present. By being present, we also become more aware of our priorities and values. We can ask ourselves if our daily actions are aligned with what truly matters to us. Lewis reminds us that it is our choices that show what we truly are, far more than our abilities. Each present moment gives us the opportunity to make choices that reflect our deepest values, to act in accordance with our principles, and to live authentically. Finally, recognizing the power of the present is also an invitation to humility. It is a reminder that, despite all our plans and ambitions, the only control we have is over the now, and it is in this now that we can create, love, forgive, grow, and be. It is in this instant that we can choose to be the best version of ourselves, not tomorrow but now. Therefore, the present moment is a treasure, a gift that we often set aside in our relentless pursuit of something beyond the now. But it is in the present that we find true life, where eternity touches time and where we can make a difference. To begin managing our time better, the first step is to recognize the need for change. Often we are caught in the trap of routine, living on autopilot without realizing that we have the power to adjust the course of our lives. This change does not have to be drastic. It can start with small adjustments that, when accumulated, bring significant transformation. When C.S. Lewis stated that you don't have a soul, you are a soul. You have a body. He reminds us of the importance of not limiting ourselves to the physical and material sphere of life. Choices we make, especially regarding time, shape our soul, our essence, and define who we truly are. A good starting point for this change is to examine our daily habits. These small, often automatic behaviors occupy a significant portion of our time. For example, the simple act of checking the phone with every notification may seem harmless, but over the course of the day, if added up, it can turn into hours lost in purposeless activity. We can start by setting limits on phone use, such as avoiding checking it during the first hours of the morning or before going to bed. By creating this barrier, we are actually taking an important step toward a more conscious and productive use of our time. Another important aspect is to dedicate specific time to activities that truly inspire and nurture our soul. Perhaps it is reading something uplifting, meditating, or even practicing a hobby that has long been forgotten. These moments of introspection and engagement with what truly matters can serve as an antidote to the superficiality that often permeates our daily lives. Instead of losing ourselves in trivialities, we begin to invest in something that brings us closer to our true self, to our essence. Change, however, is not easy and requires discipline. Lewis reminds us that it is our choices, far more than our abilities, that show what we truly are. Discipline is the bridge between intention and realization. To create a new habit or change a behavior, conscious and repeated effort is necessary. Start with something small and manageable, such as dedicating 15 minutes of your day to a new activity that you want to incorporate into your routine. It can be something as simple as a walk, reading an inspiring book, or even a moment of prayer and reflection. Over time, these small acts become an integral part of who we are, shaping our identity and our perception of time. By consciously choosing how to spend our minutes, we are actually choosing the kind of person we want to become. This change may seem subtle at first, but its long-term effects are profound. Our soul, our essence, is shaped by these small daily choices that, when added together, build the framework of our lives. Another crucial point is learning to say no. Often, we find ourselves overwhelmed because we take on more responsibilities than we can manage. The ability to say no to activities that do not contribute to our goals or values is essential to free up time and energy for what truly matters. Lewis reminds us that our choices reflect our true nature, and by saying no to something that is not aligned with our values, we are actually affirming who we really are and what we consider important. Finally, we need to remember that change is a continuous process. It is not something that happens overnight, but a journey of growth and self-discovery. Every small victory, every habit changed, every conscious choice is a step in the right direction. Time is what we make of it, and by choosing to use it wisely, we are actually choosing a fuller and more meaningful life. Lewis invites us to look at our lives and see the potential for change and growth, always reminding us that it is never too late to become what you might have been. Imagine your life as a symphony. Each moment is a note, each day a melody. You are the composer and the conductor. With each new day, you receive a blank sheet of music, and what you do with it depends entirely on you. The beauty of a symphony lies in its complexity, in the harmony between the different parts that, together, create something sublime. So it is with life. It is not just about isolated moments, but about how these moments connect, how they intertwine to form a coherent and meaningful narrative. Lewis reminds us that there are no ordinary people. Each of us has the potential to create something extraordinary with the time we are given. But what does it mean, in practice, to live a life that is a well-executed symphony? It means recognizing that each decision, each choice we make is a note that contributes to the overall melody. And this melody can be of incomparable beauty or a cacophony of regrets. The secret lies in living with intention, being present in the moment, and making decisions that resonate with our deepest values. Often we find ourselves trapped in a cycle of urgencies, responding to every new demand that arises, as if we were playing in a chaotic orchestra without a clear score. But living like this is to allow life to happen to us instead of being the agents of our own story. For the symphony of our lives to be well lived, it takes more than just filling time with activities. It requires creating coherence, a purpose that guides our actions. Lewis suggests that time is not an enemy to be defeated, but an ally to be embraced. He challenges us to see time not as something to be desperately filled, but as a gift, an opportunity to build something lasting. Each tick-tock of the clock is an invitation to live fully, love deeply, and create courageously. And this is where the importance of being present in the moment comes in. The present is the only time we truly have. The past is gone, and the future has not yet arrived. Therefore, the key to living well lies in valuing each moment, recognizing its uniqueness, and acting in accordance with what truly matters. Perhaps you've heard the phrase, live in the moment. It's often used in a superficial way, but when understood in its depth, it is a powerful call to action. Living in the moment does not mean acting impulsively, without considering the consequences. On the contrary, it means being fully aware of your choices, your actions, and how they impact both the present and the future. It is recognizing that each choice is an opportunity to align your life with your values, to create harmony between what you believe and what you do. What kind of music do you want to create? This is the question that should guide our lives. It's not just about avoiding mistakes or filling time with useful activities, but about composing a melody that reflects who we truly are. Lewis reminds us that there are no ordinary people, and this means that each of us has the ability to create something unique, something only we can bring into the world. Therefore, as you compose the symphony of your life, remember that each moment, each choice, is an opportunity to create something beautiful and meaningful. Time is your ally, and each second is an invitation to live in accordance with what you believe. The symphony of well-lived time is one in which each note, each moment, is in harmony with the whole, creating a melody that resonates with eternity.